I grew up when there was a Yugoslavia. There were no Eastern Bloc countries that were these little slivers. Estonia didn't even exist as far as we were concerned on the political map. But things began to change. And Josip Tito stayed in power and was a monster and made it a point to persecute Muslims up until the day of his departure from earth. In the same time, the ICNA, the Islamic Center of North America, established 1389 AH, and ISNA, called ICNA, and ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, were well grounded in the United States in setting up MSAs, Muslim Student Associations, while in the UK, FOSIS, Federation of Student Islamic Societies, was busy overseeing ISOCs, Islamic societies. It should be of note that these organizations use their might and oil wealth from WAMI, World Assembly of Muslim Youth, to muscle out competitors and strong-arm organic growth of Islam, while those groups imported Salafiyya in both its South Asian form, ICNA, and its Arab form, FOSIS and ISNA. I want to make something clear to you that's very important. Before ICNA, or the Islamic Center of North America, and the Islamic Society of North America were formed, before both of those organizations were formed, you had organic growth of Islam in the United States. You had Muslims from Albania that had a masjid in Brooklyn, talking to the basic people, preaching the faith. They were coming into the masjid. You had a group of Muslims that were black that had gone to Central America and also to the Middle East and come back. Some of them were Malikis. There was a group called Jama'at al-Hanafiyya, these were Muslim brothers that had studied in Turkey. Black Muslims who were black, studied in Turkey, came back. And up until fairly recently, when the Malikis made major inroads, most of the Muslims that were black were Hanafis because of the fact that their main teachers that had brought back the Islam had gone to Turkey or other majority Hanafi countries. I mean, it includes people like Imam Jamil al-Amin, Hanafi in his fiqh, and so many others. The Black Panthers that converted from the black liberation theology into Islam came straight into the Hanafi madhab because it only made sense based upon the people that taught them, and they wouldn't have listened to anyone else because they were coming out of a black nationalist mentality. They would not have listened to an Arab or a Pakistani or a Mexican. They needed someone that looked like them to present the faith to them. And the people that looked like them that presented the faith to them, like Hamas Abdul Khalis, who worked harder than most people I can think of in spreading this deen, was black. And he was Hanafi. And so they made the decision that that's our madhab. And it became commonplace in the late 1960s. People, if they were Sunni, if someone was Muslim, and they were Sunni and they were black, they had to be Hanafi. What else could they have been? They couldn't have been anything else. That's how they saw it. But as the Muslim brothers from Sudan and others began to come in, the Maliki madhab began to make inroads. And because of some of the struggles that there were when ICNA was founded, because the ICNA had people within it that were from Jama'at al-Islami, from Abu al-Ala Maududi's group, which they were claiming to be Hanafis, but had a lot of distortions and a lot of other diseases. The way the masjids were being ran by these organizations, you had people now referring to masjids as the Pakistani masjid. And that left a sour taste in Muslim brothers' mouths who were black. And so they began to abandon the Hanafi madhab, those that were organically grown up. Now, there were two strands of this movement as Salafiyya came into the U.S. from the oil wealth. Strip away all of that and go back to what I had quoted from before. The World Assembly of Muslim Youth is from Riyadh. That is the Mecca of Salafiyya. The money that they used from there is the money that they made two big footprints in the Western world. One massive footprint was here, where FOSIS was built up. If you want to understand a really good text on how FOSIS was built up, is a book called The Path to Paradise by Ziauddin Sardar. And he actually explains how he helped build up Salafiyah in this country, how he helped to build up FOSIS. This is why if you go to any ISOCs are all under who? FOSIS. So the market is completely controlled. So if you go into any library and you see, what are we going to do? It's such a menace. There's copies of Kitab al-Tawheed by Muhammad Abdul Wahhab in here. There's other Salafi literature. There's milestones by Sayyid Qutb. How are we going to get this stuff out of here? You're not. Not as long as the overweening majority of it, which is completely bizarre, not as long as the overweening majority of it is under their control, which is bizarre because this organization has managed to come in, tentacle, spiderweb out, and make itself look like it's several different ones. Although it's all FOSIS. I mean, how many of us could really sit down and realize that, wait a minute, hold on. This is just the trappings of Salafiyah, and we're just being given, it's like the difference between McDonald's and Burger King, when in reality, Burger King is a subsidiary of McDonald's. Burger King is a subsidiary. That's an illusion of competition. AT&T, Sprint, and MCI, they're subsidiaries of AT&T. There's no competition. And that's what's going on. And you notice a lot of the heads and the higher up vice presidents, they have the same stance and that same staccato way of speaking. That's not accidental that they speak like that and that they have that attitude. There's a basis behind it. And so the second big footprint was ICNA and ISNA in the United States to deal with young Muslims that were coming from a South Asian background into the US, some of whom were alienated from their faith because in the United States, Islam is seen as an Arab man's religion because those were some of the first people that landed there. Whereas in the UK, it's perceived as a, quote, Paki man's religion. Why? Because Asians were the first ones that touched down here, not Arabs. So there, they say, oh, why have you turned Turk or turned Arab or gone towelhead? Or, oh, don't start wearing your underwear on your head, right? That's what those well-mannered Americans will say to you if someone wants to become a Muslim in the United States. And so they tried to do two things of shutting down any authentic dawah. Was in the 70s, WAMI, which is an interesting title that they've used, World Assembly of Muslim Youth, WAMI, they pushed with all of their resources to shut down any authentic forms of Islam. And any authentic forms that did come out could not gain legitimacy unless they came to their meetings. Think about it. How many Orthodox teachers, Sunni Muslims that you know of, that you hold in high regard, that may be from the US, type in their name in ISNA or ICNA convention next to it, and it'll pop up. Because most of them have been to those. So you see men that are avowed Sunnis sharing big tables with cultists, men that are from the same theological lineage as those who murdered our ulama, because they feel they have to. No third way has been made. Between 45 and 57% of the masajid out there are controlled by them. Then it brought the second menace, the Shahada certificate. Someone wants to become a Muslim. John Johnson wants to become Muslim. So he does. They fill out a piece of paper, rectangular piece of paper, that has when he took Shahada, his name, the date that he did. And once he's filled out all of this information, they make a copy of it. The original goes in their file, and a copy goes to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, how can we be so sure that this is the case? Well, this can be gleaned from the Council of American Islamic Relations, CAIR, who until 1 year ago had yearly meetings with the FBI to bring them up to date on Islamic activities going on in their community. Oh, so if someone became Muslim and you didn't have the Shahada certificate, you wanted to go on Hajj, wanted to get married, wanted to go study? Oh, where's your certificate? Don't have it? Oh, there's no proof that you became Muslim. I remember the case of a dear Muslim brother to me by the name of Isa, I believe it's Isa Muhammad. He became Muslim, no Shahada certificate. He wanted to go on Hajj. Couldn't. Where's your Shahada certificate? And who controls the printing and distribution of Shahada certificates? Well, they do. So we felt that it was our civic duty as upstanding Muslims to take a copy and to start mass producing Shahada certificates free on demand for people that become Muslim. Because who are they to decide that this certificate says that you're Muslim? And in certain parts of sectors of the Middle East, when Muslim brothers go out there and Muslim sisters to go study at a university, they'll ask for it. Oh, do you have your Shahada certificate? No. To which one day when Brother Isa Muhammad was asked when he was in the masjid and he wanted to sit in some lectures to learn Qur'an, some of the local Arabs said, oh, where's your Shahada certificate? To which Isa Muhammad said, it's in my heart. What about yours? Well, he wasn't invited back to the lectures. And you understand why. Because the Shahada certificate fitna was started by them. Don't you ever wonder why in this country, in the United Kingdom, they generally have estimates? We think there's about 1.2 million, 1.3 million Muslims. But in the US, it's always bang on. 8,744,200. They've got it down to the actual number. Well, they should, because there's all these Shahada certificates stacked up in the office. How many converts are coming in every year? Yes, there's 10,000 coming in blank many days. There's so many thousand coming in every day. So many hundreds every week. So many this every week. So many this every year. Every 6 months there's this many. How do they know this information? The Shahada certificate culture. And that disease is still there. And so ICNA and ISNA started the Muslim Student Associations. You're in university, you're far from home, first time away from your family, and a Muslim Student Association wants to help you. Come, brother, you're new here? Yes. You want pizza, something to eat? Yes. They take you out to dinner, and before you know it, you are being transformed. You are being worked upon. You are being slowly subverted, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly in their mind. And then when you come home, seeing the quote-unquote jahiliyyah that your family is in, and the utter shirk that your mother and father are upon, they don't understand what's happened. They sent you to get educated and you came back more ignorant from before, but this time you're hiding behind religion. And this is precisely what the plan is. Here they call them ISOCs. In the US, they're called MSAs. I can't think of any solution in getting rid of them because the entire octopus is wicked, not just as tentacles. So we have to form a third way because there's no way to get in and reform this system short of destroying it. At the same time, Mount St. Helens erupted in the same year, killing 60 people, causing palpable damage 15 miles in all directions. The afternoon was turned into a smoke-filled, pumice-raining midnight. It was also agreed that Sirhan, the Palestinian Christian, would stay on the same block as Charles Manson, never to be released. Those that may not know, Sirhan Basharat Sirhan is the one that killed Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother. He gunned him down on television. Palestinian Christian. Why? When he was asked in custody the reason for his killing Robert Kennedy, who was slated to most likely be the president in his later life, he said that it was because of the issue in Palestine and that he didn't believe that Robert and John F. Kennedy were real Christians. Because if they were, they would have helped the Palestinians, the majority of whom, some 53% of them, are Christians. So Sirhan, Basharat Sirhan, is doing a life sentence in California's Supermax prison. On his cell block is Charles Manson.